The English language is spoken all over the world, but it isn't spoken everywhere the same. For producers of international radio programs, this is an especially interesting topic, because we are always having to ask ourselves if the majority of the audience will be able to understand the accent of a given speaker, and what can we do to help make the content clearer. Today on Wings, you'll hear a program by Mia Kim that is all about accents, what they are, who has them, and what people experience because of having accents that other people don't understand, or perhaps won't bother to try to understand.
Well, everybody has an accent. I am Rosina Lippi, former professor of linguistics. An accent is just a combination of features specific to one individual's language. So, for example, the way a sentence is strung together. In Illinois and Chicago, people are likely to say, one person says, I'm going to the store, and the next person will say, can I come with? And instead of, can I come with you? That's a regionalism. If you're talking about somebody who speaks English as a second language, that kind of accent is, they come as an adult or as a teenager, you start to learn English. Say your native language is German or your native language is some variety of Chinese. You bring to the language you're learning your phonology of your native language.
My name is Evelyn Elohart. I'm from Côte d'Ivoire, West Africa. I'm the program supervisor of the African Women's Coalition. I would say almost, 4 years and 10 months. I took, for 5 years, classes like once a week when I was in middle school and high school, but it was British, it wasn't American.
An accent doesn't mean that a person cannot be fluent and persuasive in a language. It just means that it's the markers of their original language, of their mother tongue.
With the British English, I improve also my English by working in international organizations in Italy and through my school, my university in Italy. And I also work for the Pope, for the radio, the Vatican Radio in Italy. I also work with the United Nations agency called FAO, the Food and Agriculture. So there, in Italy, I was using Italian as well as English, but still it wasn't enough. For me, my first time when I came here to Portland, my English was very limited. And I realized now I really need to learn American. Also, when you are in a survival mindset, you need to learn the language to be able to live, So I just learned and it's my 7th language that I learned.
In terms of language, the way it happens is this. One group of people, and usually and they're in specific social groups. So, for example, broadcasters, teachers. One group of people tell another group of people, we are the masters of language. We speak English, or what depends on what country. It happens everywhere. We speak English, we write English in a superior way to you, and you will never, ever succeed unless you accept our model of English and approach it in exactly the same way we do. And if you don't, then doors will be closed and opportunities will be cut off because you are not speaking the proper form of English. And they are able, and they have been able, amazingly so, to convince people that that's true. So to somehow convince half the country, for example, Southerners or people who grow up speaking Black English vernacular, that their language isn't good enough, that is part of the language subordination model, that they managed to sell that bill of goods to so many people. To say, for example, your English isn't good enough to have this job because you can't communicate, you can't get across what you want to say. The same thing goes on with people who speak English as a second language, people who are told that unless they can get rid of their foreign accent, that they won't fit in, that they can't communicate.
I'm from Laos. I work for the Refugee Resettlement Program for about 23 years now, 1976. I came to America. The first time is very difficult for me. I had to go to school at night for this English class, and the daytime I had to work because my country is not, it's very small country, and it's not like America. The culture and other thing is different. The English is very difficult for me too.
There is no such thing as standard English. When you're talking about spoken language, variation is the way language works. Variation is not optional. It's not something that you can school out of your language. Variation is there at all levels, in all aspects of your speech, from pronunciation to word choice to syntax. So if somebody tells you, well, I speak standard English, they think they're speaking standard English, but in fact they're speaking English like everybody else. Maybe the markers in their speech are more associated with more educated people or with more wealthy people, but that's still variation. It doesn't mean it's no better or worse than any other set of variations. So if somebody says to you, you need to learn standard English or you're never going to make it in this world, what they're saying is you have markers in your speech which are associated with social groups who are stigmatized. And people don't like to admit that those social groups are stigmatized. So instead of saying, you sound black, or you sound like you came from Asia, or you sound ignorant, or you sound poor, they won't say those things. They'll say, you don't speak standard English. That stuff is a matter of social evaluation that doesn't have anything to do with the language itself. And the other thing is, and this is really the sad thing, is that people who buy into the subordination model, so for example, people who come from an area where there's a very stigmatized variety of English, and they go and they try to get rid of their accents, and they learn another variety of English, and they study and they study and they study, and sound pretty much like they want to sound when they're done. But that doesn't change the underlying reason they're being discriminated against. People are saying, oh, well, if only you spoke like us, right? If only you spoke real English like we do, then all doors would open to you. But the fact is that that's not true. Discrimination will be there for another reason then. Oh, well, if they can't discriminate against you on the basis of language, they'll find another reason, or they won't find any reason at all. They just, won't talk about it, and they'll discriminate anyway.
When I first, come to the country, and I work at the restaurant, and I don't understand what did they tell me to do. So the boss get mad at me, and they fire me. And so I say, one day I can speak English, but my accent is not good. But I doesn't care about that. I try hard to express my word, So I just think I can speak 4-5 languages. I speak Vietnamese, Chinese, Lao, Thai, and English.
Have you ever been in an argument where somebody says, two people speaking the same language, family argument, and somebody says, well, I just don't understand you. Basically, they're saying, I don't want to understand you, I refuse to understand you, right? And that happens all the time. And that happens especially, that is something that's happening a lot when people say, well, I don't understand that person, he's got an accent. People are much more capable of understanding other people with accents or without accents if they're open-minded, right? Normally in the conversations, it's the responsibility of both sides. But the minute the person notices you've got an accent that I don't like where you come from, I don't like anything about you, they'll just shut down and say, it's all your responsibility to make me understand, which is just ridiculous. But that's what's going on, basically.
There were an incident that happened at the store yesterday. I was looking to buy a candle. And I asked the store manager, I say, would you tell me, where is the aisle where I can find the candle? I mean, this candle. And she hears something else. And I was so embarrassed. I'm not going even to repeat the word that she said, but I felt like, no, I don't want that. I want this candle, because we have a mother that has a baby. So I was going to bring her a gift and share with her. And this is a symbol of light because a new life can come in. So I wanted to give that to her.
If we really are a society that welcomes diversity of all kinds, then why do we want homogeneity in language, right? If diversity is what we want, why does everybody have to sound the same? There's so many people who come to this country with so much to offer, and they're discouraged because the language they have to offer it in is rejected. Now, in fact, if you reject somebody's language, you're rejecting them. People don't want to admit that, but that's in fact what goes on.